looking at your house. On it, doubt I'll be out for the count when the sounds, and I'm down for the beat. No beat down. I mean, how long's it been? Help me out. I've been the only one who's held me down. All in the mind, hell freeze now. Still sick with it, healthy how? Few bars down and the world freaked out. I don't reach out, I seek out to speak out. I'ma recount the reasons they beat out.
Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the 509 Divine Pines podcast. I am your host, Joseph Daniel Pena, and it is January 25th, 2024. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. It is Thursday, Blur's Day. I got my background blurry. My mind is not blurry, but, I hope your life is moving at the speed of light, and everything around that's hating on you is a blur, and it's going down. Yes, man. What we got going on today is an uplifting conversation with my boy Ricky Varandas from the Ripple Effect. But first and foremost, I want you guys to like, subscribe, share, tell everybody around that this is happening. And, we cannot do this without you. So this is a word of mouth podcast. I give you the words out of my mouth, and you go ahead and feed this out with the words of your mouth to your friends, to your family, everybody out there. Because, community cannot last without unity. You know what I mean? If I push you, you push me, then we're all pushing each other, and we're having a moving society, a booming society. That is what we want. We all want to thrive in this world where people want to be so bitter, but no. I want all of us to be winners. And today, that is what we're going to go ahead and start off with. Remember, guys, there is a ton of sponsors down below. So whatever you guys want some supplements, some crystals, you guys want cannabis, hemp seeds, you guys want hemp lotions, topicals, tropicals, concentrates, if you want a little bit of water ionization with, water purification. There's a little bit of everything, whatever you need, whatever you feel, it is down below. Coupon codes for everybody. Everybody loves a little bit of savings, especially with Joe Biden's America taxing our dollars straight out of our pocket. Oh no, man. Yeah, we need a savings, and we need them now. We need them now fast. Go ahead, check out all the sponsors, and I thank them. There's plenty of them to go around. Just be optimistic in the future for the potential that you don't know yet. Like, when I was looking at these supplements, when I was looking at these different options, I just didn't know. But there was something inside when I prayed that said, hey, there might be some potential. And guess what? It all worked out for me. So if it could work out for me, it could work out for you. And there are donations down below if you guys would like to donate. So the links are down below. And here we go. Let's go ahead and kick this off. So Ricky Varandas is the host of The Ripple Effect, the Union of the Unwanted, and his new show, Ricky Rants. The Ripple Effect is where you can find professional conversations with scientists, doctors, researchers, philosophers, professors, athletes, comedians, and everybody of all kinds. Wow, the Union of the Unwanted is co-hosted by Sam Tripoli, Charlie Robinson, and Midnight Mike. Ricky Rants is his own personal life stories, perspective, and philosophies. You can find the Union of the Unwanted and Ricky Rants on Rokfin.com. And you can find more about Ricky Varandas over at rickyvarandas.com. Hey, man. Hey, welcome. How you doing, Ricky?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Yeah, man. We had a little bit of a talk right before the show, and it was definitely, we seen eye to eye. And, if we were Jedis out there, we'd be slaying these dudes. You know what I mean? That's what we do. Our words are sharper than lasers because they're pointing lasers at us, and gotta go ahead and fire back. So let's go ahead and give them a little bit of introduction about you, bro. Let my viewers know. That's what I like to go ahead and kick this off with. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I started podcasting in 2013. I started the Ripple Effect podcast, named it after a song that I wrote called The Ripple Effect. It kind of inspired, it is my theme song for the podcast, and the title inspired the title of the podcast. And it was this whole idea of just believing in the ripple effect, this idea that we can all create some type of ripple in the world, have some type of positive effect on the world, and we never know, how far that ripple will go or how big that ripple will become, and just truly believing in that theory. And that came from me just kind of, like most people, I after high school, started working full time, kind of felt unfulfilled, felt like I wasn't contributing anything to the universe, and just felt like something was missing in my life. I did grow up playing music and doing poetry and doing a lot of artistic stuff and just loved flexing the creativity muscles. But in time, like work kind of took over, and it was hard to keep playing music and doing music with others because life was getting in the way. And then I started doing music on my own on the side. It was called the Theory 6 Music Project, and Theory 6 came out with the EP, which the Ripple Effect song was on. And but writing a song and recording a song and doing everything on your own was very time consuming. So when I was doing a lot of commuting at the time for work, and just doing a lot of traveling, a lot of time in the car. And little by little, I just started getting obsessed with podcasts. And in time, I'm like, you know what? Like, I have Pro Tools, I have microphones, I have equipment to kind of get it going. So why not like do a podcast? I enjoy these topics. I enjoy having conversations. I enjoy hearing people's personal stories and wisdom, and learning from others, and bouncing ideas off one another, and challenging ideas, and also having my ideas challenged. So why not start a podcast? And at the time, I convinced one of my best friends, Dave, to be my co-host. And he's like, what are we going to do? We're going to talk and record it, and we're going to share it. Like, to him, it seems so ridiculous. Like, the idea, he's older than I am, and he wasn't in a podcast. And, like all of us, when we get into podcasting, we always feel like we're late to the party. At the time, I felt like we're late to the party. But it didn't really take, like, a lot of people in the older crowd, like, wasn't even aware of it. It was still like a lot of younger people, tech savvy people that were kind of into it at first. And he just thought it was just this ridiculous concept of like, you're just sharing, basic conversations. And I was trying to get him to understand that when you hang out with your friends, or you go on a date or whatever, and you get in those deep, intimate conversations where you share personal stories, personal philosophies, and some of those conversations make your night. There's some the most funnest nights you have is when you're connecting with somebody and you're sharing ideas and you're challenging ideas and whatnot. I'm like, we're basically just recording those conversations we enjoy, and we're archiving them, and we're sharing them, and the same way we enjoy them, other people will also enjoy listening to them. And so that, he was a little skeptical, but he helped me kick it off. And even in the first episode of the Ripple Effect podcast, which I don't recommend anybody going back and listening to because I suck pretty bad, and I'm still a work in progress, but nobody ever wants to hear the first couple episodes. And honestly, at the time I said it, and obviously it seems pretty true now, but I said in that first episode, I'm like, podcast is the future of media. I think that it's one of the few places that they have like real limitations on how they can restrict us, because as long as you can put out a RSS feed, somebody can get a third party app or find some way of connecting with you. And there's not, you can obviously, if you Spotify or iTunes can do, some censoring. And they have censored me too in the past. I had issues with like Del Bigtree being on during COVID, Mickey Willis being on during COVID, and those shows like disappeared from my iTunes. So they do some censoring, but you can also get like Podcast Addict and other great apps that you can get the RSS feed right from the creator and connect with them. So I'm like, you know what? This is one of the few places where I'm hearing real discussions. I'm hearing people actually have the conversations I want to have. I'm hearing people discuss things that I'm curious about. And of course, one of the first shows I really got into was Joe Rogan, which was like, natural for me because I loved history. He would have history people on. I loved MMA. I grew up watching UFC, and so I knew Rogan from there. I loved stand-up. My wife and I used to go to stand-up all the time before we had kids. And there's a couple local comedy clubs that we're always at. And so we, you know, it was just like the perfect show for me to kind of get into. And I love the fact that he also didn't stick to one topic. That, you know, I'm also a very curious person. So instead of listening to just one show on history or one show on sports, he kind of went from, you know, one topic to another topic. So you never knew what he was going to talk about on the next show. And it might be a nutritionist, it might be a scientist, it might be a historian, whatever it may be. And I'm like, that's the type of show I want to have, because I'll get bored with stuff. And this way I'll never get bored, because I can just have on anybody that I find interesting, regardless what topic, regardless what topic it is. So it's, it was that was a huge inspiration. And then also James Corbett, who has become a close friend of mine throughout the years and has done many appearances on the show. If people aren't familiar with the CorbettReport.com, one of the best places for news, current events, documentaries. He's done some of the best research on, you know, false flags, the military industrial complex, the big pharma, big food. I mean, just historically, JFK assassination, World War I. I mean, he's done just some amazing work. But he believed in this open source idea. And what he would do is that he would tell people like, hey, I don't care if you post my show on your channel. I don't care where you post it. Feel free to post wherever you want. It's all open source. So when I started my show, I said the same thing. So those were the two big inspirations. And I loved Corbett's work, and I loved the topics that he was researching. I was intrigued with similar topics. I also loved the one-on-one long-form conversations Rogan was having. And so I try to combine the two, like have Corbett-like topics with long-form Rogan-type conversations, and hope people enjoy it. And like anything that we create in this world, you kind of just do what makes you happy, and something that you're proud of, and then hope other people also enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a great introduction. I think that that's where I kind of fell along with, not necessarily having my music out there like that. I did create a little music back in my day. Kind of kept it to myself though, because just my surroundings and scenario, and just I didn't have the right equipment, so didn't really do a whole lot. But I probably could now that I have equipment. So I'm you know uh from that standpoint, I found a way out of music when I started seeing that it was very controlled. I started looking into alternative sources. I started, actually watching a lot of Joe Rogan, and looking at different authors like Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson for different alternative views for our reality. And it eventually led me into having deeper conversations with my friends as well. And they would always just tell me like, dude, like, why don't you like start a talk show, and like, why don't you like talk really deeply about this, or start a podcast or something? And I just brushed it off for the longest time, steadily just was on the internet, just doing research over, years and years, kind of figured it out, I guess, looking at reality from a mind open. I like cannabis, and I feel that cannabis is one of the main things that's helped me find the peace and intelligence in life, the wisdom and the love in life, compared to the way that the rest of reality works. It's all on this. It seems like the reality's in a box, and I know we spoke beforehand where it feels like we're trying to break out of this matrix, with this information. It feels like we're trying to open up our energy and really dominate life, or at least have a better understanding the way God intended it. And so it took me a while. I started this podcast kind of just by my own. I had a few things here and there that could help me, like books that I was just having on the side, and now I have on authors and guests from around the world, and it's been able to help me, my family, and my surroundings, where now I can look at this professionally and have guests on like you and others who are talking about the same things with more professionality, than I am. I'm just an athlete, who I'm a fitness trainer, and so I come at this from I wouldn't say a very nerdy perspective, but I do really dabble like deep into a lot of these dives, and a lot of this information, and I can understand. I was in the military, so like I understand a little bit of this is from systems perspectives where things are very controlled and regulated, and the way that reality is working right now, it seems like it's regulating it more and more and more. And I'm glad that you know the podcasting network that's been built, I guess Joe Rogan straight up just, inspired us all, right? It led out to Sam Tripoli, and that Sam Tripoli, it trickles all into all of us, because I think um this information is powerful, and people like us are really, really tackling it. So, I feel that, man. I'm definitely big on music. I feel that music is like the emotion of the universe. So if like musicians, there's something about musicians. I don't like to go ahead and agree with all that fallen angel shit where it's like Lucifer was the king of music. Like, no, dude. Like, I think that there was this godly thing, heavenly thing way back where, musicians, who can write, who can compose, who can, really get in tune with the melodies and the rhythms on a deeper level than other people can have this ability to also seek information, seek wisdom, and seek knowledge and peace and like love in a different way within humanity. Like that's kind of where I've been able to tackle this podcast a little bit differently than I can see others. So there's a lot of irrational voices out there, but I definitely don't see that with us. We're big on music, and definitely found a love for it, where others, you see this other side of reality, right now, this Taylor Swift reality, this Billie Eilish reality. They're lost. They don't have any actual vibrance or connection to the understandings of anything like knowledge, music, health, politics. And I think that's where this podcast and your podcast are big game changers, where we're able to break down these big topics and help help our friends and family out, simply just through conversation, deep dive conversation. And we're not coming at this from like a university perspective where, this is a collegiate professor, or we're like some big wigs, or like some freaking, Elon Musk or anything. Like, no, like we're just normal people giving you guys professional conversations. And yeah, I really think that right now, especially in 2024, with what's going on with everything that's been happening over the last few years, I think a lot of people are looking for answers, looking for information, looking for a light in the darkness, because man, America seems dark, man. And I'm just glad that I happen to have you on this podcast to go ahead and help shine the light, dude. Like what's going down the border, man. It seems like it's about to be like it seems to me like civil war is about to start, dude. I don't know what's your thoughts about on some of this. Anything new, anything that's going on in
Well, the
2024.
border thing is interesting because it's so obvious that it's just gone completely out of control, and it's purposely designed to get completely out of control. And it's not about immigrants. It's not. I mean, I'm an immigrant. You're of Mexican background. I think we both have the same opinion that, like, hey, this isn't about trying to help, poor Mexicans come into a country and just help them out. It's not about that. It's about many other things. And I think some of those things are, it's the long game, and it's about, they zoom out and they're thinking way in advance. And I think that one of the ways they're going to try to screw Trump and the next election is get, well, oh, you're also in the military, you said. So this is all, I'd love your opinion on this. I mean, they're talking about giving these illegals the opportunity to sign up for the military, then become citizens. They're doing.
Yeah, I was in the military like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I got out before I turned gay. Sorry.
But it's one of those things where it's just like, why would they do that? I mean, one, it's because obviously recruiting has struggled for a while now, but two, it's also because I think you're giving them citizenship, so you can kind of guess how they're going to vote, and you can sway them in that direction. And there's all these other things. I mean, you have people In New York, they have kids now doing schooling from home, virtual schooling, because they're filling up the schools with immigrants. And it's crazy. There's this conflict between Abbott and the federal government. He's just trying to secure his border, and they're going back and forth. And it's just, even regardless where you are on the political, scale, it's just you have to stop and think, like, what's the purpose? Like, why are they doing this? Well, for a long time, I thought people on the right were kind of overblowing the immigrant thing. For many, many years, people were like, people from Latin America coming in and taking our jobs and whatever. And I'm just like, maybe, but I'm like, there's a lot of other issues that are like way more important for me to focus on. And now it's like, it's just gotten completely out of hand. And all these, I mean, I don't know if you heard the story about in Florida when they literally had a overnight just drop of illegals in Florida. DeSantis found out about it, and this is like a operation from the White House. Like, they literally are just trying to sneak in immigrants into Florida, and then DeSantis took them and then dropped them off in Cape Cod, or Martha's Vineyard, wherever it was. And it's just one of those things where just like, what is going on here? Like, it's just people are being used as pawns and just moved back and forth. I mean, these are poor people that, like, who knows what they're doing in this country, what they were promised, right? And it's crazy. But I think it definitely has something to do with the next election. I think that they're gonna, all these extra, maybe they're gonna get all these people registered as voters or whatever, who knows? But there's definitely some fuckery going happening right now. And all these things are just, it's so obvious that we are just all pawns in a bigger game, and they don't care about any of us. And it's funny because so Tucker Carlson had Alex, I forgot how to say his name, but he's the COVID journalist who wrote a bunch of books and wrote a bunch of articles and got censored off Twitter and sued Twitter. This was before Elon Musk took over, sued Twitter for censoring him and all this stuff. And he's been on Rogan's podcast. His last name starts with a B. I forget what his last name is, but he kept trying to find like a logical way of explaining what happened. He kept saying like, yeah, I think that they messed up here. And Tucker's like, I think they were trying to kill us. And he's like, well, I don't know. He wouldn't go to that length. And Tucker just came out and said, no, I think it's obvious. They were trying to kill us. And when you look at like all the evidence, like the suppression of ivermectin, the suppression of hydroxychloroquine, the demonization of those, what are generally generic and safe drugs. You look at like the just all the crazy things. I mean, I had Brooke Jackson, who was a Pfizer whistleblower. She was a part of the studies to get it approved and expose all the fuckery that was going on with that. I had the nurse at the most overfilled hospital in New York, the whistleblower there. I had Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Robert Malone, Mickey Willis, Judy Mikovich was on the we brought her on to the Union of the Unwanted. We Del Bigtree, like, it was so obvious everybody was exposing what was really going on, and that they don't care about human life. And this idea, like, people struggle. Yes, Berenson, yeah, Alex Berenson, yeah, and so if people struggle to believe that anyone would be that evil, but it's happened over and over again. I mean, Pfizer has gotten some of the biggest fines in human history for lying about their drugs, so they know that they're lying, and the lying could potentially lead to harm, and they did it anyways. I mean, so it to me, it's just it's always been so surreal to me that when we talk about the military industrial complex, we talk about literally lying about every single war and conflict we've been in, and knowing that innocent lives are going to be lost, innocent people are going to die or be harmed, and we're going to just demolish countries for long periods of time. Like, they do that on purpose, and we've exposed that over and over again. But yet we have a hard time believing that, like, big pharma or politicians would be okay with, like, big pharma giving, force feeding us a very dangerous experimental product. I mean, they literally forced a product that they knew had no studies on. They lied about.
Could I say something? So let's remember, Pharmakia where all of this comes from, this medicine and all of these shots derives from pharmakia in Greek would mean sorcery, like witchcraft. And if we're being a little bit realistic, we're looking at Hollywood and we're looking at the big picture, the Illuminati and the elites as these witches, wizards, warlocks, and that is like something that they're really heavily using against us right now. That is why it's not just necessarily just for random stuff. Like, hey, no, they want to attack us, they want to destroy us, and that's why we got to work out, we got to eat right. But yeah, like that's something that we should understand. Like, this is real witchcraft that's being done against us by like high level Satanists, elite occultists.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, they don't care about human life. They want to control the world, and these are all things that people like Alex Jones and others have been saying for many years and got completely just crucified for. I mean, for the longest time in my group of friends, I was the conspiracy theorist, right? Like, people would entertain my ideas on certain things, but they always kind of like joked about it a little bit, like, oh, what's your theory, right? But they didn't take it seriously. And I went from the conspiracy theorist to now like the historian, because it's like, oh, Ricky, what was the story behind this, or what was just a story about Nazi Germany and Bayer, or whatever it may be, or Operation Paperclip, or whatever rabbit hole they want to go down, and or Hitler, making it to Argentina. So it's just like it was all these things that people kind of used to laugh about, and it's same thing with but vaccines was the topic that I found the hardest to get people to open their minds to, because I mean, one, I know you're a spiritual and religious person. I would consider myself spiritual. I'm not. I was raised Catholic, but I wouldn't consider myself religious. But there's definitely spirituality and religion are not two different things, and I think there's some. They cross paths. They might even be the same thing. We might all be feeling the same thing. We might just have different opinions on what that thing is that we're experiencing. But during COVID, like, everybody that I knew said it felt like a spiritual battle. Like, everybody who was open to what was going on and finally opened their eyes to the truth of what was going on. Like, they're like, there's something feels spiritual, like it's good versus evil, like we're in the middle of a battle, a war between good and evil, and we're witnessing it, and we're seeing it happen right before us. And I've said it in the past on my show, I'm like, I don't think it was a coincidence that a lot of the most outspoken warriors were religious or spiritual people. Like, I didn't have any atheists on my show during COVID. It wasn't on purpose. Like, I'm just saying, like, the people that were speaking out, the people who were willing to, to connect the dots and really grasp that there was some serious evil going on, they happen to be spiritual and religious. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence, because I think when the thing about philosophy, religion, spirituality, anything like this, like, it goes against materialism and the world that they're trying to create for us, where like family doesn't matter, these bigger questions of who we are, what we should be doing, what's our purpose, like those questions don't matter. It's only about materialism. It's about just buying things, and it's about scientism, and just like, oh, science has figured it all out, and anything that science can't explain can't exist, right? Which is super unscientific to even say. But to me, it's like, it's all baby steps in a direction of transhumanism. It's without a doubt a step in a direction of, like, eventually the combining of man and machine, maybe even the decay of man. I mean, who knows? And but I don't like where we're going, and people have to wake up to the fact that, like, if you don't zoom out and see the big picture, we'll make the same mistakes we did during COVID, where people are like, you know what? What's the big deal? It's just one week home, or 2 weeks home, or 1 month home, or 6 months home, and just stay home for a couple months, or and then just a couple months turn to a year, and then a year turn into a couple years, and then staying home to spread to stop the spread of the virus led to forcing people to get a pharmaceutical, completely experimental product just to go to work and pay your bills, or just to travel, or just to whatever. And by the way, we have zero studies on pregnant women, but we're going to recommend it to pregnant women. We're going to recommend it to the youngest of kids, even though those kids are at zero, danger to. It was just like, it was so obvious what was going on. And it's like, people have to zoom out. Like, you'll make the same mistakes. People will be like, hey, just wear a mask. What's the big deal? I'll tell you what's the big deal, because the big deal is it's a slippery slope, and you're not seeing the big picture. It's not about just wearing a mask. It's about like, okay, we give up our ability to breathe air and wear a mask if we want, and take those risks if we want. Like, government isn't here to give you rights. They're here to protect your rights. And that's what people don't understand. Like, the government shouldn't be telling you what you like. If you don't want to risk leaving your house, then don't risk leaving your house. But to me, this idea that like all of a sudden in 2020, pharmaceutical companies and big pharma cared about the well-being of the average person, and all of a sudden politicians were telling the truth and had no other incentives or agendas, was just like incredibly just insane to me. And it also showed the power of propaganda and the power of fear. You scare people enough, everything that they thought they believed, they goes out the window. And when you're a materialist, right, like, a virus is scary, but when you're a spiritual person, and you believe that there's like a greater power, or you believe there's a greater purpose, you're not as scared, because you you're doing what's right, and that's more important than anything else. And and it all starts in schooling, brainwashing the kids, tell them to not be creative like yourself, playing music, doing podcasts, whatever it may be. Like, don't work that part of your brain. I had a guest on that was a regular back in the day. His name was Hunter Motz. He used to co-host the show with Brian Callen, the Brian Callen Show, and then it was Mixed Mental Arts. It changed its name a few times, but real intelligent guy. But he talked about, he also was the author of the Straight A Conspiracy, but he talked about how they did this study where they would talk to kids in like kindergarten, and they would ask like, how many of you think you're creative or have like a really good imagination? Like, every single kid raised their hand. And then as they got older, they would ask the same question, and less kids raised their hand. Now, I don't think it's because you become less creative as you get older, or you lose that ability. I think the world tells you like, hey, stop wasting your time doing that stuff. Focus on reading and writing and stuff that are black and white, and stuff that we're telling you to do, math and all this stuff, so you can get a good job. And all that other stuff is useless. But that other stuff's not useless, because that other stuff is how we ask those bigger questions, and how we find meaning, and how we look up to the sky and say, what the hell's out there, and what is this all about? And this idea that like the sky is endless, and just all these bigger questions that I think the average person is almost suppressed from asking. And it's again, like, it's by design. One of my good friends, Richard Grove, has a great documentary called State of Mind: The Psychology of Control. And if you go back, he kind of gives you a historical perspective on it, and it goes back from like the beginning of time and civilizations, that there's always been people who want to control people, and sometimes that means suppressing information. And that goes into some of the things we talked about before we started recording, before we went live. Some of that suppressed information could be, who knows what the Vatican has, right, in their library. Some people believe it's books from the Library of Alexander. It's some people believe it's like the missing pieces to the human puzzle and the human timeline, right? And you brought up Graham Hancock. I love Graham Hancock and Carl. Well, I'm forgetting his name. The other guy who's his buddy. The sacred geometry guy, but
Randall Carlson.
Sorry. Yes, Randall Carlson.
Yeah.
But I don't smoke weed, but sometimes I feel like I do. I forget stuff. But it's
we have CBD receptors in our body.
but I this idea that like civilization, like we think that like civilization, if it was a graph, it would just like we just keep getting smarter and smarter and advancing and progressing. And they tend to believe, and Ancient Apocalypse was a great documentary series, and obviously all Fingerprints of the Gods and all Graham Hancock's work in the past, and really asks the question, like, is it just this graph that continues, advancing and progressing, or did something happen and, at some point, and we had to start over, and then some of that old wisdom or some of that old technology or information or understanding was lost or suppressed by, later civilizations. And those are important questions. And I think those questions also cross paths with like the
What's going on now?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like big Sam Tripoli always likes to say this. And I kind of hold it true. Like the same people who killed Jesus, the Roman Catholic Empire, is the same people who's in charge today, the Roman Vatican Church, and their monstrosity of the empire that they've created. And that all ties into this ancient Babylonic, Molech, Baal, Luciferian fallen angel worship, where they do all sorts of ritual magic, blood magic, and crazy type of stuff that they in their own words like get power and money from and all the world's riches, but they lose their soul. And we see that in Hollywood. We hear that about celebrities come out all the time saying it. More and more videos of them just like tweaking out, like really losing their soul on camera. Like, it doesn't even seem like them. It's just something like speaking through them, and it's very strange. You hear the politicians are dealing with the same stuff. I remember that clip. There's a couple of them. There's the CERN ritual where these guys are doing some midnight ritual right in front of a Shiva statue. So there's this video out there. You got, yeah, CERN ritual. You guys will see these elitists. They'll be doing some crazy ritual tonight. Then there's another one. Godiva. I think it's Godiva tunnel ritual where there's like 100 politicians in like 10 a.m. or 12, 12 at noon, and they're opening a tunnel, and they're all in these weird costumes doing weird, crazy rituals, and you see it over and over. We hear like how deep the Super Bowl halftime shows are. These dudes are performing grand rituals. I mean, some people even think that the way 9/11 was shaped, what is it like? They think it's like the two towers of Boaz and Joachim, and they were kind of breaking through or using that as some ritual thing. We look at the Georgia Guidestones and how that was very ritualistic. It's saying that it wants to limit the world's population, and over and over and over again, this has been happening. I think that what we're experiencing is nothing of the new. We read the Bible or we hear ancient cultures talk about these dark spirits that we've just had to have come across that have came here, came from another planet, came from another dimension, whatever it may be. We see the Hollywood politicians and big elite really idolize it. When I look at the military and the way that a lot of their badges are, if you started looking into a lot of the way that the military badges are, these things are not normal. They have pyramids, they have Osiris, they have snakes, they have aliens, Bigfoot, and you like look at them like, why would the military be doing this? Like, wouldn't they just want to like put a shield and a sword or like something simple, But no. They're openly kind of, well, I want to say openly, but in their eyes, what is it? The revelation of the method, the law of karma that they have to bypass. So they kind of secretly put a little bit of the details out in public, and it's just for us to catch on to. And if we catch on to it, then we're kind of free, liberated a little bit, just a little bit. And they're free and liberated just a little bit because they don't have to suffer the consequences. And right now, I mean, speaking about the vaccine, I was just looking at some videos of over this week where under a microscope, there's been several instances where there is like floating organisms inside of these shots, and there's these robotic organisms floating inside these shots. And then, over the last 6 years, we've seen out in public the science organizations and the news organizations of the world say, yeah, our scientists are building 3D nano machines, and that can, shape shift and clear arteries and go into our body and actually work as mini microcomputers inside of our body. It's like, wait, all right. So, you hear about that, and it's I think a dehumanization, what's been going on. They take away our knowledge, like as you said with the Library of Alexandria. Like, of course, that why else would that be burned and destroyed? Why are all these grand libraries destroyed? I remember even out there when it was the mid 2000s and it was supposedly the search for weapons of mass destruction. What did they go do? They went and destroyed so much freaking historical land. It's beyond insane. From the 90s to the 2000s, with even Desert Storm before then. Yeah, like it was just it's a big rewashing of history. I know that there's this new topic people like to talk about. It's Tartaria and the mud flood. And you know what? It just happens to be every month news sites are saying, wow, we've uncovered buildings underneath our property. We've uncovered tunnels underneath our property. And don't get me started on tunnels with the way that everything's been going on. I mean, all that stuff with the Jewish tunnels, that's sickening. Disney and Playboy were very open in saying that they had tunnels, and all around the world, we just don't know how far it goes, but we just know that it's there. And that's the thing that some people just can't get over. They can't get over the hurdle that there's something lingering in the back of their mind. Like, is this really happening in our reality right now? But they don't want to face it, and I think that's why we're here. There are some very, spiritual people out here doing God's work, doing, as I said beforehand, I feel like there are some heavenly forces and heavenly energies that we're representing, or that we're instilling onto people through the way we're giving people wisdom and strength and a little bit of information and positivity while we're at it. We're not trying to depress you guys, and we're not trying to bring this out, just to depress. No, this is something that we should be able to take back home at any rate, and realize well, if I can make some life changes, like me, I made extreme life changes over the last 5 years, where I took myself from darkness to light, just because I started accepting the truth, accepting what other people had to say. I wasn't shutting people down. I wasn't shutting people up just because they said something a little bit, that might be too over my head, right? That might be too informative, right? Too controversial, right? No. I just realized, hey, they have a heart, and it is true. These other people, these atheists, the T plus peoples, and these demonic Satanists, you're not going to see them standing up for righteousness, guys. If you look at social media, who are the people that you see standing up for love and positivity and the right thing? It's the people, who are spiritual and religious. And it's more than likely that you're going to see some dark hater be like, now F it, and, you look all over Instagram and Twitter, it's filled with this demon energy, man. It's beyond insane what we're going through in reality. Now let's just break this down for the viewers real quick. It is on a political level. When WikiLeaks came out in the mid 2010s, where Julian Assange got totally destroyed it's in some of those documents, it was said that Hillary Clinton was looking for the tomb of Gilgamesh, and it is also it was also in there that she was doing oh man, crazy stuff like frazzle drip, and there's also more about how, I guess, between her and Obama and, Biden and all their little crews, what they wanted to bring about was, what is it, Ricky, again? They wanted to bring about the rapture, or the coming of the Antichrist.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. I mean, these people do believe in rituals. I mean, like you said, the CERN, it looked like a satanic ritual type thing. I mean, you can find articles, and it's funny because Tim Pool was just talking about this not too long ago with Jim Corsetti, who has the Bright Insight YouTube channel and Rumble channel. It's a great channel, and he's great to follow on Twitter. He's constantly always sharing things, really interesting things. But they talked about this. They're like, why would you do that? And then during the Tim Pool show, they looked it up, and they said it was a hoax. They found an article that it was a hoax and it was a joke, and then they found another article that said no, it wasn't, and this is they showed the video or whatnot. But even if they do this stuff out in the open. I mean, why do we have a pyramid on a American dollar bill? I mean, it's not they're setting it's they're without a doubt. That's why the sacred geometry and this type of stuff is really interesting. The conversations about like the Freemasons and Knights Templar, like, are they hiding something? Do they know something? Is there some information that is being suppressed from the public, some understanding of our reality? They can only suppress it for so long, because the fact that people are openly on mainstream platforms talking about UFOs experiences, before we start recording, I believe, or either sometime in the beginning of this show, either before we start recording or right when we started talking, I was talking about a guest I had on. I actually just looked it up just to remember his name. Ralph Blumenthal. He was the guy who wrote that New York Times article about UFOs that went viral and kind of made it mainstream. But he had a book called The Believer, and it was about this Harvard prize-winning psychologist called Dr. John E. Mack. And Dr. Mack was somebody who was a little skeptical about these experiences, people who said that they were having these experiences with aliens or people from another realm or whatnot. And he just he was actually, I believe, a expert in child psychology and wrote a bunch of books about child psychology. And so he ends up talking to these people and interviewing them and trying to get to know them. Dogs always help bring more views. So putting cute pets on the camera would probably help YouTube views. But it's just one of those things where, like, he went in as a skeptical, science first type person, Dr. John Mack, and then eventually turned into a believer. And he did interviews, I think, even on Larry King and whatnot. And they're like, what do you think these experiences are? And he talked about how these experiences were things that, these experiences were things that you couldn't explain. There were things that you didn't know what happened, if it was physical, if it was mental, if it was another realm, other dimension. But as a psychologist, he's like, without a doubt, it was something. Like, the experience was real, right? And then it goes into that conversation, like, what's real, right? If I don't see it, but you experience it, is it real? It's like, well, what the fuck is reality? Like, what is real? What isn't real? How do you define real and how do you define reality? Like, and the crazy thing is, like, when you have these type of conversations, people will kind of look at it like this is just too crazy to believe. But yet you have a conversation about, like, quantum physics, and you have a conversation about, like, stars that scientists say are, by the time we see them, they're already dead, and we're just seeing the light that still exists. And it's like, okay, so that concept is not, like, nobody ever says, hey, how the fuck do you know this? And like, how'd you come up with this idea? Like, nobody is like, I don't see people putting on their skeptical hat when they hear these scientific. This is a problem with, like, experts. It's like, we respect experts too much. You were talking about in the beginning of the show how we're, like, just two common dudes. We are. And guess what? Typically, some of the most interesting people who break the walls of a type of thinking or a philosophy are people from the outside who go in and are like, no, this doesn't make any sense. And and that's how it's always been throughout history. It's people who ask questions. I mean, Nikola Tesla threw a curveball to all the concepts of the world, with free energy. He was in Colorado trying to contact aliens and believes he had some contact with either some other realm, some other being somewhere else. So it's like, people just pick and choose which things they want to believe. They'll talk to a religious person and say those stories are ridiculous, but yet you talk about quantum physics and it's like, oh, something's moving and staying still at the same time, and they just repeat that. And I'm like, wait, well, what did you just say? Like, and can you explain this to me? And you get it explained to you like a billion times. And I'm like, well, that makes less sense than what the religious person is saying happened. And you're saying that that's complete horseshit. So I'm just like, you're picking and choosing what you believe and what you don't believe. The world is full of mysteries. Somebody that I'm a huge fan of, Dr. Michael Millerman, who is actually his claim to fame was he was the first person to translate Alexander Dugin, the philosopher, the Russian philosopher, who is also known as Putin's brain, that some people have coined that term for him. But he was the first one to kind of translate his books. And when he was on, and he said that like what really got him into philosophy was like mysticism and just mystics and the history of it and all, so it's like I think all these things intertwine. I don't think Graham Hancock, when he was and I'm going to do this a lot. I know people who are new to me. I'm going to have one idea, and before I even finish that idea, I'll do my best to finish it. But sometimes I just like hop onto another idea because my brain's going 1,000 miles an hour. But
Hey,
Graham
man, it
Hancock,
happens. That happens to the best of us. I mean, that's the way I am, man. Like, actually, like the reality, it's all connected. This universe, it's all connected.
well, Graham Hancock, I loved what he was saying about, because a lot of the weed culture and people who are big into smoking weed or whatever and like spiritual, like they kind of they're spiritual, but they don't consider themselves religious, right? And they kind of look at it as like kind of silly and whatnot. And like many of the psychedelics users from the left, even the not the civil rights, but the anti-war movement during Vietnam and all this stuff, the LSD, the all mushrooms, all these people, like they seem to be more left-leaning, less religious and more would be considered spiritual. But like Graham Hancock, during one of his appearances on Rogan, he was talking about how we can't read things out of the Bible or any old writings or stories that have been told and retold and written and rewritten throughout generations. We can't look at them like they're just silly stories. We have to really consider the seriousness of them and the potential metaphors that are in these writings and these stories, and the potential wisdom and the potential lost knowledge or information. Like, we have to understand that you have to put yourself in their timeline and their interpretation of the way the world works, right? Like, for a long time, because we didn't understand rain, we thought that or thunder or whatever, like we thought it was because the gods were angry, right? We thought that waves in the ocean were because some god was angry. Like, we always try, it's human nature for us to constantly try to explain the unexplainable and try to understand ourselves and the world around us. And they did that too, and that has never ended. And that throughout the beginning of time, like, we've always tried to understand our purpose and why we're here and all these things. And we can learn from our ancestors and learn from like the stories and the wisdom that they learned and things that they uncovered. And they might have uncovered a understanding of reality and understanding of gravity, understanding like all these things that we can't understand. You hear stories about people going into a UFO or some type of craft, and from the outside it looks small, then they go in and it's ginormous, or vice versa, a craft, they go in and then it's a small room. Like, it's like this idea, like it's all, we have to shatter our understanding of reality and our understanding of how the world works and start over, right? And like, or at least be open-minded to other ideas, because we always try to fit everything that happens that's unexplained on this foundation of our understanding of reality. I remember having this conversation with Dr. Jessica Rose, and she's a PhD in many different things and one of the smartest people I've ever met, but she's also a virologist, right? And so like, you go to a university and there are the godfathers of your major. There are the godfathers, the books that everybody who goes to school for these topics, like, you have to learn, right? And then your expansion of that topic is all based on those people that you have been told like have figured it out before you, and everything is based off the way they do things, the way they look at things, the way they understand things. And I was telling her, I'm like, well, doesn't it kind of prevent you from really understanding, if something is incorrect, right? So we'll just keep telling a story over and over again. Or even, you talked about being into fitness and whatnot. I am too. I mean, I go to the gym every morning. I've had tons of doctors on in regards to like homeopathic medicines and dietary ways of dealing with disease and sicknesses and really optimizing your body and mind, with good food and nutrition and vitamins and whatnot. And a lot of these people who break the boundaries on what we should be eating or not eating are people from the outside looking in. Or people are like, hey, I know I'm told these are the guidelines of how I look at nutrition, but I'm going to say like maybe those are wrong. Maybe the people that we are saying are the godfathers of this, this topic, this field of work, like maybe they were wrong. Let's go back and rethink everything. Let's reimagine everything. And to me, that's what a real skeptic should do. I brought up this story before on my podcast about this documentary called The Syndrome, and there's many documentaries like this, but it's just one that that came to mind about shaking baby syndrome, right? So you had parents that were having their kids taken away from them, and you had parents that were getting locked up because these experts, quote unquote, was saying, so they would bring their child to the hospital saying, hey, something's wrong with my child. And they would say that, hey, this was a case of shaking baby syndrome, and that's what caused her brain damage or head damage or whatever. And these parents were getting their kids taken away from them. They just wanted to get their kids looked at and help. And instead, they're looked at as criminals that had their kids taken away from them. It took a doctor, a expert who was not an expert in kids or health or any of these typical experts that you would call to look into these type of cases. It took an expert that was expert in car crashes. He was an expert who looked at crash test dummies and how our body reacted during crashes. And I forget the story on how he got linked up to the shaking baby syndrome, but I think somebody reached out to him or whatever. And he's like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because for a child to have that type of brain damage due to shaking, you would see some neck damage, and these children have no neck damage. And so it literally, like, experts were locking up parents, having kids taken away from their parents, and it took somebody from the outside with a virgin personality or a perspective on things, somebody who could come in with a clear mind, with no dogmas that it's gonna affect the way they look at things, came in and said, you guys got it all fucking wrong. Like, this doesn't make any sense what you're doing and what you're saying. Like, this can't be true. And it's just one of many examples of how we put these experts on a pedestal, and we think like somebody has figured it out before us. And if everybody is repeating this, it must be true. And somebody must have taken the time and done the work to make sure that this is good science. This is well thought out. This is something that is valid. And then instead you go back and realize, oh, it's all horseshit. Like that, like it was all based on nonsense. I mean, and then that happens with studies all the time. I mean, you go back to how they came up with this idea that cholesterol was causing heart attacks. That study was all horseshit. You talk about the blue zones, and how a lot of people use the blue zones as a way of saying, so blue zones are like the places in the world where people live the longest. And a lot of vegetarians or vegans will say, hey, look, they don't eat a lot of meat or whatever, this and that. And like, there's all these flaws with the blue zone. So it's like all these studies that become like adopted as like, this is the rule. Like, this has become the standard way of thinking. Like, you go back and realize like, oh my God, like it's all nonsense. It's like when I discovered Gerard Williams' work, he was a BBC journalist who, one of the first really credible people that talked about Hitler making it to Argentina. He was in Argentina for a story. He was looking for, just researching other things, found all these books in Spanish about Hitler making it to Argentina. Then he's like, how can this be? Everybody knows Hitler died in Germany. He killed himself. Then he goes to do research on this story that everybody has accepted to be true, and finds out there's no evidence that story was true, that the FBI looked for, that Hoover had a operation looking for Hitler in Latin America. He believed that he escaped there, that The Soviet Union thought the same thing. The fact that the bones, which Gerard Williams eventually with, I think, the History Channel or Discovery Channel did DNA testing on, wasn't even a male, it was a female. So it's like there's zero evidence that he made it that he died in Germany. But yet this story gets told over and over again. Everybody assumes somebody did the research, somebody took the time and work to really look into it before repeating it, and nobody does. And that's how a story continues over and over again. And science is no different. Our understanding of reality is no different. Somebody's, whatever, somebody in science decides that, hey, what holds things to the earth is gravity. This is just my theory. And that's the other thing too. Like, all these things are theories. There's no way 100% you can prove that gravity is holding, is what's holding things on, to the earth. It's just, there's no way of proving it. It's a theory based on, what we see in our own experiences and maybe, tests or whatnot. But like all, scientific theories, eventually they end up dying and a new theory comes around where they realize they misunderstood something, or they missed something, or they have a new understanding of gravity or reality or whatever. And so, like, my point of this very long rant is the fact that it's really important to question everything, and it won't just help you with your own personal health, because instead of you just assuming, if the doctor's telling you that these are your options to get through the sickness or illness, that those are your only options, because that's never true. The human body is absolutely amazing. Mother Nature is absolutely amazing. If you find the things that your body needs that you're missing, that you connect those dots, you can cure yourself and help yourself with just about anything. And it's happened over and over again. There's tons of cases of people who have, I mean, that guy, Nipsey, whatever his name, Nipsey Hussle or whatever, Nipsey, whatever his name was.
Yeah,
who was
Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, he was making the documentary about the doctor who proved in court that he cured people of all these diseases and illnesses a natural way. And the rapper was
Dr. Sebi?
Yeah, Dr. Sebi. And he was so amazed by the fact that this story wasn't mainstream. He wanted to make a documentary about it. Of course, he ended up dying, and and who knows what was the cause of that. But like, my point is, like, there's cases of that. I actually just had this conversation with Monica Perez from the Propaganda Report, and we were talking about how this Italian filmmaker, Massimo, who did 9/11, a New Pearl Harbor. He did a moon landing, great documentary, I think, called American Moon or something like that. But one of the first films I ran into that he did was called Cancer Cures, and it documents all these amazing doctors and people who looked at health differently, and who were curing people with teas or root extracts or dietary methods. And he documented all these, and all these people got criticized, they got sued, they got shut down. And it's like, it doesn't even make any sense, because if eating healthy makes you healthier, then why wouldn't vitamins and stuff that comes from food also help? And it just, but again, like, this is just the problem about the world and reality we live in, is that they're molding our reality, they're controlling our reality. It's social engineering. You talked about the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones was literally like a blueprint. They're like, this is the way we think the world should be. Oh, by the way, everybody's actually taking this seriously now, and maybe we should just blow it up. And that's what happened. They just demolished the Georgia Guidestones. There's like,
and I heard that's an alchemical process that they did. They set it with fire and explosives, and it's like it, in some essence, that's what alchemists do in order to make the actual rune and magic happen. And speaking about how in the beginning you were starting to say how COVID felt like a battle, a spiritual battle, and this ties into how what we were just talking about right now, like all of this, everything that we've been going through. It seems like it's not from our reality. It doesn't seem like the people that are oppressing us are actually themselves. That that doesn't seem like their agenda is the human agenda. Whether it be an off-world agenda or just a dark spiritual agenda, it's just not on the same vibrancy. You hear the stories about how everybody around Hillary Clinton says she smells like sulfur and smells like demons and this weirdness. Like, and then this, you see the Hollywood movies, TV shows, and everything. They incorporate it out out in the open. There's like these spiritual forces that lay around us, like currently in our reality. And yeah, as you said, we just can't see them. A lot of people can't see them. That's why in some forms there's the shamans out there, and there's the very trained people who can take psychedelics and take entheogens, holistic plant-based medicines with very strong chemical properties that attach to our brain, and natural ways that open up these visual receptors and help us see into these different dimensions. And that's where I think a lot of this is very, very spiritual, what we're going through. I believe in God, right? And I believe in the angels, like the good angels, Archangel Michael and all this. Like there's something there's something out there that you can definitely tell it's in our current reality, that there's a light to, there's a love to. When I eat organic food, so speaking about the food thing, right, I'm very big on promoting organic food, non-GMO food. And I can talk to you about this. I think that there's some demonic energy inside these GMO foods. Like, okay, I don't know how else to say this, but you can kind of tell when people are lost on the sauce, the malt 40 liquors and the artificial stuff, the junks, the McDonald's, they got this, some people got this weird vibe to them. And it's not like, they're weird. It's like, no, the vibe inside them was weird, where they're saying things that are very reactionary. It's like a trigger word, and then it's like something comes out of them and it's like boom, they shut it down. I find people very, very defensive over the term McDonald's. I'm not talking about the person eating it. I'm like, hey, did you know that this McDonald's is filled with this and this? And they get like a demonic mad. You know what? Who cares? Like, so what? Like, what? So what? I like McDonald's. It's like something triggers and floods them. You look at the packaging, and I just, something triggers in my head. Like Mexico, they just started banning the images on the packaging, right? So if this is occult magic that they're doing, right, here in America, a lot of the imagery is like a hypnotization. It's flooding into their consciousness, their subconsciousness, their brain, and then I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but it's magic. You know what I mean? There's something going along with the chemicals, these poisonous chemicals, the red ones, the blue 40s, these phosphates, trifates, dicalcium bullshit, whatever, man. It's nothing natural. When you look at under the microscope on how this actually affects our body, our cells do not bind. Like the cells of these foods do not bind with our gut, do not bind with our skin, which is where all the bloating comes from, all the fatness, all the pain, all the inflammation, all the cancers, the clogged arteries. Like, where do you think all that clogged junk is coming from? Man, you see people out there on natural diets, natural foods, they're homegrown, every day, all day. They're pretty healthy. They're really healthy, actually. And Dr. Sebi's, one of the persons that I've heard over the last 10 years, like, that's really been powerful. And he's helped me kind of understand. I haven't watched a lot of him, but I just, from the brief things that I have read, I'm like, okay, I can take this to home, and this is already something that I know. Now he's just like clarifying it, like all the stuff around us, it's life, right? There, and you look at the way reality is going with Bill Gates and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These dudes, these high level organizations, Fauci, Pfizer, Monsanto, all this wants to dehumanize the world, literally on a DNA level, on a vibrancy level, on a conscious level, spiritual level, energy level, whatever you want to say it, however you want to say it, ki, chi, prana, it's happening. And you can tell because people are like walking around these days, man, I feel so like down, depressed. No, I just want to like lay home, be tired, and there's so many more injuries, so many more hospitalizations. I feel like it's not just people just being dumb. It's like literally this food, the chemicals around us. We know that Bill Gates wants to block off the sun and create this carbon zero world. And guess what, guys? If there's zero carbon, there's zero life. And like, I don't think people understand like we'll pretty much die if there's zero carbon. And what we're seeing with this whole climate change, it's affecting people on a mental level, spiritual level. What we can tell right now is it seems very obvious that these dudes want to get off planet, right? And I'm just wondering, like, I don't know if the stars and all that are real. I don't know if the planets are real, but is it more that they're just trying to also bring entities down to Earth? We're seeing all this UFO talk. Like, I know that there was this dude Sam Tripoli had on. I forgot what his name was, but he talked about how Nevada and the South West was very occultic, and you see what is that, Roswell, right? Roswell, and it's like very very close to all these other ranches, these very high level ranches, Epstein Ranch, Zorro Ranch, then you got the Tom Ford Ranch, these billionaires. And then you look down beneath and you hear about how there's all tunnel networks in, and then Microsoft was found like right around the same area. And, I'm just wondering, like, were these dudes already bringing these entities down, with how far it goes back with Eisenhower, right? I really do think that what we're seeing on Earth right now, it's not just humanly, man. There's some very, very strange things going on, and yeah, it might be invisible to our eyes, but like, what's in these UFOs? Who's in these UFOs that the military knows about? It's very obvious the military knows about them. As we were talking about, like a little bit of the Nazis and Hitler. Beyond Argentina, though, there's stories with Richard Admiral Byrd, where he went down into Antarctica and they already had a Nazi civilization there. The Nazis were all up in the tunnels. They were talking to a ancient race called the Vril. And you can do some more research on that. I actually had posted a video about the Vril and their witchcraft and what they were all about like a couple years ago. And it seems like what we're being told about our current reality. Man, the whole flat Earth topic is a touchy one, right? But it's in ancient books. It's in the United Nations map. So it's not in public schools, because we know public schools is pretty much controlled by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But they're not telling us something that's in our reality, right? Like, whether it's outside of Antarctica or underneath. When we look at the Emerald Tablets, it talks about the netherworld, where people were traveling down into the cave tunnels, down into Earth, and like making deals with gods and making deals with these entities, right? I'm not sure exactly where they're at, whether they're outside of our plane, outside of the space, the ice wall, or they're underneath. But it's very obvious, like, to us on this level, we're seeing like, hey, these dudes are here, they're making deals, and this is all a dehumanization effort. Like, the foods, the music, where it's like literally degrading, so degrading. I can't listen to new music, bro. I cannot listen to new hip hop, new rap without this like weirdness. It feels like there's devilish energies, and you see the videos, and yeah, for sure, devilish energies, all about killing. It teaches females all about whoring out. It's just, there's no God in it. There's a real battle that's happening right before our own eyes. And, the vaccine things, in Elon Musk's words, right? He said that they can literally change people into a butterfly. Well, like, in some essence, can't they like change people into like a dark spirit, the demon, like more hateful? What I've seen over the last 4 years is like, yeah, there is a polarization. People who care on social media and people who care in the world, and you can tell it. You can feel it. You can feel that they have heart. And then there's the other side. They're like not human. They don't comprehend what it means to love. They don't comprehend what it means to kid. I mean, what it means to have a kid. I mean, I've seen these videos of women be like, yeah, I've had like 90 abortions. I never want babies. Yeah, hail Satan. Like, what the fuck? What? I don't want to. I don't want to date anymore, bro. You know what I mean? It's gone to that point. And it's purposeful. When we looked at the BLM, and all that, and maybe some of these other politics, they want to destroy the nuclear family. They don't want a real family. They don't want a mom and dad. They don't want the son and daughter all living and loving. They want the adoptions and the broken family, just so God isn't there. And let's go ahead and take a quick little 15 or not my bad. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, 10-minute break. 5-minute break. My bad. 5-minute break. How about that, bro? Is that cool? I got a song and commercial I could go ahead and play for like 5 minutes, and then we can go ahead and run the outro. Well, we can start preparing for it. I know that you only have like 30 more minutes, I think, right?
Yeah. 20, 30 more minutes.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and just how about this? We're gonna run a 3-minute commercial break, and we'll be right back, guys. Yeah, I'm just gonna play a quick song, brother. I'm getting a little too heated. I need to go take a little breather.
Gonna go far, that's what we on the run for, go hard. Sipping gin while we sitting, spitting those bars. Getting rich, got a vision, get the show cards. Lot of money laying around cause we go hard, always go hard. Spitting fire, see the sonar, hope they resonate with the vibe. Feel like Mozart, really I'm alive in my soul, feel like Mozart. That's what hoes are, too explosive so I show art. Yeah, I make art, sad to see people with no heart. I work to replace all of the negative, I go far with it. I'ma show all of these bitches, no complaining if you with it. Don't you dream me, see the vision, need my energy, the mission. Really take all my precision, every single day I picture where I'll be the day we get it. Feed the brothers, feed the fam, I don't really give a damn. I don't wanna get famous, I wanna lend a hand. Give the cash and rubber bands to the people always standing on my side, always down the ride, say I planned it. I'm the guy, like the supersized on the planet. In my mind, I don't gotta try, I already have it. I'll be doing damage, I was born a savage. In my mind, I already died, living lavish. Heaven is a state of mind, be glad if you have it. Living in a simulation, be patient to grab it. Universe will bring it to you if you ain't an average. If you live an average, then Satan's bound to manage your life. I'm just trying to tell you, if you gonna roll the dice, gamble in your life instead of living precise. I ain't perfect, but I'm gonna earn it. No, it don't concern anybody but my person. Lesson that I learned is that people are gonna burn. Anything you do, they gonna pay the price. Nothing nice come in life for the dipshits. They just wish shit, never gonna manifest it. Never catch me resting, short-term blessings. I just want my brain to work so I can write my next hit. Ignite the blessings, manifest my life, never question a moment in my life. I be knowing that it's meant to be, this my destiny. All the rest of my life really history. The day that I'm finally gone, they'll be missing me. Your position be the reason that I'm gone. 200 songs done, I've been on the run. I ride a wave, make a way, I'm the one. I stay the same, but I'm changing a ton. Rearranging my brain for the gains through the sun. I've been absorbing the light, I could say that I won. At least I'm conscious of what I'm doing, praying a ton. Relay all the information, staying patient with the shit. I write a hit just to get through all the shit. I ain't a bitch, so I'll make it. I ain't dealing with the prick, I'm finna take over the game. Really, I'm getting in, I'm really glad that you're here to witness it. I'm about to fix entire rap game. You could call it magic, like a trick. Classic with the way I spit it. They be clapping when it hits. I be snapping on this shit. I've been rapping, feeling lit. I'm
Yes, we are back. Hope you guys enjoyed that oatmeal eating, and just don't close your eyes and imagine anything else, dude. Just, it's oatmeal. All right. Please, for the love of the Lord. Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this broadcast, this podcast, and this swapcast between 509 Divine Pines and the Ripple Effect. And wherever this is landing, remember, we are with you. Where we shine the light, we will go forward. Because we cannot like stumble into the darkness that the devil wants us to. Yes, yes. So, guys, go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and um, tell everybody around this is going down. Go ahead, drop some donations. This is a people for people podcast. I'm for you, you for me, and we good. You know what I mean? We're good. So, um, yeah, man. Ricky, yeah, we had a pretty in-depth conversation right now. Where do you think is something that's going to be impactful? What do you think is going to be impactful over this next year? What do you hear for 2024? What do you think?
Well, something you brought up, the food thing, I think is a interesting topic and one that people should keep close eye on because, like you mentioned, Bill Gates controls the food. He has tons of farmland. Food is now changing, and it used to be things you could pick, things you could grow, things you could kill, and now it's things you can produce in a factory and package and patent to make profit from. And I think there is something to the fact that like if you don't, we're life eats life to stay alive, right? Like we pass away and we disintegrate into the soil that grows beautiful plants for animals to eat, and those animals eat, and then some other animal will eat those animals, and it's this cycle of life where we all kind of are one, right? It's like that theory, we're all one, and we all kind of recycle ourselves. And it's some people believe in reincarnation, and I think that's probably some of the theory behind it is you come back and maybe you have past memories or past feelings or experiences that don't seem like they're yours or during this timeline or during this life, and maybe that's a part of it. But I think controlling the food is important because there, just like grounding, which is like when you just walk on grass or dirt with no shoes and just being connected to the earth. I think eating organic, natural food also connects you to Mother Nature and the earth. And I think when you are consuming a bunch of chemicals, things that look like food, designed to smell like food, and constantly pull at your desires and temptations to eat it, but it's not really food and it's not really satisfying you nutritionally. And I think it lowers your frequency. It affects your ability to critically think. It affects your ability to have the energy and to go out and do things and be proactive and maybe start a podcast or ask questions or research things that you think you've been lied to. So I think the food
Or
is
heal your sicknesses. Yeah,
exactly.
for sure, 100%. Like, okay, I when I went into the military for 2 years, just National Guard, I was in chemical biology, radiology, and nuclear department where I learned a lot about chemicals, biology, and all that stuff. And so I came back and I started looking at the way that GMO food would actually process. There is no nutrients, there's no building blocks, there is no actual core value to like if you put these GMO foods on a video game statistic, the stats would be very low actually, and the toxicity would be very high. And they do it just for looks and for money. And the organic foods, they actually have building blocks. There's the vitamins, the nutrients, the photolights, the amino acids, the proteins. You have all these different actual nutrient values that are found on a natural level inside of the food. So when it goes into our body, it actually goes into our gut. Our gut has like about, I don't know, a couple million nerves up into our brain, and that creates this effect called neuroplasticity, where there's this relationship from our gut on how we are hungry and how we process the food and digest the food, and how our brain gets the energy from it. So how healthy our brain is, how quick we're thinking, how sharp we're thinking, how happy we're thinking. Yes, our brain is responsible for all those endorphins and all those hormones and all those releases of the chemicals that make our happiness and stuff. And that wouldn't be controlled if it weren't for the food in our gut. if we don't have anything in our gut, then we just don't have anything and energy. You see lifeless people out there. You see, literally people who don't just seem like they have their natural body parts. It seems morphed. It seems warped, and it's this dehumanization. Leading into what we're seeing, they want to put it in the 15-minute cities, right? They want to have these controlled food programs in 15-minute cities. They want to put us in 15-minute cities. It's not just the food, it's also it's the stuff in the air, it's the stuff in our homes. The Febrezes are getting straight into our lungs. These man, the moment I took away Old Spice deodorant, Old Spice body wash, my skin stopped cracking. My skin stopped being dry. And the moment I stopped using Febreze, my lungs actually felt happier and healthier. Like my lungs were open instead of like concaved. I was always just spraying, Febreze, and like, smells good, but my lungs hurt. Whatever, you know what I mean? I'm a simp. I'll just take it. No, you know what I mean? But for real, it's all around us, and it's really up to us, to just make the change. Some people just don't like going out of the norm. I understand that, and that was me. I was like, nah, I want to be the dude who always has the Axe body spray. You know what I mean? The Old Spice body spray, whatever. You know what I mean? That's the cool thing. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize how damaging it was. Same thing with the McDonald's and the Coca, like the American sodas. I didn't realize just how damaging they were. But you definitely see it's actually destroying the physiology and the biology of the consumers.
Yeah, and you think if we're some type of antenna that can tap into things, and maybe when you're spiritual or during religious moments or whatever, you feel like you're tapping into something, maybe that food and that lack of cognitive ability, or that fluoride that was laughed about for a long time, like, oh, fluoride, that's just a conspiracy theory, and now you see fluoride free products all over the place. You see fluoride free toothpaste, you see fluoride free all types of stuff, you see aluminum free deodorant. Like, these are all things that was kind of laughed about for a long time, like, oh, these things aren't poisoning us, these things aren't having any negative effect on us. And now, and that's, I guess, the white pill, right, is the fact that, like, people are waking up to this stuff. Like, a lot of people that wouldn't even entertain these conversations, or maybe if they did entertain these conversations, they would entertain them because they find them entertaining and not because they think they're realistic, are now looking at them like, no, these are real issues. There is a thing called the elite. They exist. They're real. There's a lot of different variations and different, obviously you have the World Economic Forum, you have, the elites in Hollywood, the elites in politics, the elites everywhere. But there's people who want to control other people, manipulate other people, and will do anything. They're psychopathic, right? Like, they're just people who and I always try to, like, think about, like, the why. Some people think it's money, it's resources, it's power. Like, what are they addicted to that they will go to any lengths to get more of it? And you figure you get to a point where, like, you've been on every exotic island, you've had every nice car, you've been everywhere. Like, what other motive do you have to continue doing what you're doing? And it's either you have a vision of the world that you want to force, and change the population to accept, or it's darker than that. Like we've talked about before, it's good versus evil, and you just don't mind hurting people or killing people, or it's like when a celebrity gets a kick out of stealing something, even though they have the money to buy it, but they shoplift it anyways. It's like you are looking for other ways that to stimulate your brain for that adrenaline rush, and maybe it is child trafficking and being a part of that. Maybe it is just sick people doing crazy stuff. I mean, there's just, we brought it up, I think, briefly before, but, like, you look at Podesta, you look at, Epstein, you look at, like, the paintings that they had. It's just, you can't look at that stuff and say it's normal. Like, I would, if I walked into a buddy's house and I saw those paintings on the wall, I would absolutely be like, yo, what is this? Like, this is kind of weird, right? But these are
I'd
influential.
walk out, man. I'll be real.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is when we see a picture of Bill Clinton in a blue dress that Monica wore on a why is the president of, like, he's supposed to be the most powerful person in the world. Like, he is the commander of chief of the biggest, strongest military in the world, right? So he should be like the most alpha of alpha males, and somebody put him in a dress, and like everybody's
Well,
okay with that.
what was that story just over the last summer where the politician and the hammer? They're all into some kinky stuff, man. You know, what was that politician?
I can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about? It was like that was the husband of one of the wife's.
Are you not
the
talking
wife
about?
was a politician.
You're not talking about the Nancy Pelosi story, are you?
Yes, yeah. The Pelosi, Paul Pelosi, the hammer, right?
Yeah, but you know, I bring this up all the time because it reminds me of that. Remember that horror movie Hostel, where it's like you had all these people who were being tortured and killed and whatever, and children and teenagers that were just like traveling through Europe, and then come to find out, like, what you discover at the end of the film, or somewhere near the end of the film, that it's a bunch of rich people who have like really extreme fetishes, and they're paying this company to capture what they want. So if they want like a blue-eyed, blonde-haired 8-year-old girl, they'll go out and find them. And if they want to torture them with like a blowtorch, then they get the room with the blowtorch and the girl, and they get to torture them for some ridiculous. Like, it seemed like a absolute
it's
insane.
Like Eyes Wide Shut, right?
Yeah. So it's like it's that idea, like, to be at the highest levels of any of these things, you have to be psychopathic. Like, if you're a politician, you are literally making a career out of lying and being deceitful, and knowing that you're saying things that are completely untrue, and being completely okay with it. And the more you lie, the more those neurons and connect in your brain, and it becomes okay. You know, it's like that thing where, like, if you tell a lie enough times, it becomes true. Same thing. Like, truth and lies don't even matter to you anymore. What you get so focused with your incentive of getting ahead, or winning a election, or getting campaign money, or whatever it may be, that truth and lies don't mean anything. It's just complete. And that is literally like how you mold a psychopath, somebody who doesn't care about right or wrong, somebody who has no moral compass. So we've created a system where, like, only the craziest of the crazies rise to the top and get these positions. And it's so corrupt. I mean, look at, like, just the extent that politicians will go to screw each other, right? Like, you look at, like, you know, the Al Gore Bush administration, all the fuckery that happened in Florida, like, and then you look at, like, and we knew like whatever happened in Florida, it probably, you know, had some manipulation, right? And you look at that documentary Hacking Democracy. It was an HBO documentary from some years ago that showed how easy it is to change the outcome of these voting machines. You look at, like, the recent cases with, like, Trump. Like, you take a democratically elected president of the United States completely off every single social media platform and ban him off the face of the earth, basically, and now he has no ability to defend himself if somebody says something untrue. He has no ability to use platforms that have child porn, that have terrorist accounts on there, like. And yet a president is like, the extent they will go to get what they want. Like, there is no line that cannot be crossed. I mean, you look at COVID, right? Like, it just happened that, you know, Pfizer waited till Biden won to, like, admit or announce that they had a 99% effective vaccine, right? Like, it was like the timing was obvious. It was just like, there's so much, you know, all the charges, it's so silly. It's like, regardless what you think of Trump, like, the fact that they're going to such a extent to not let him run again, try and take him off ballots, like, people should be concerned. And people should say, hey, you know what? Like, I don't give a shit if I agree with them or not, but they should have a right to be on the ballot. And they should, and if the people like them and if the people want to vote for them, then you know what? Like, let them be an option, but they've suppressed third parties, Ralph Nader, Ross Perot, obviously Robert Kennedy Jr. in recent times, and Jesse Ventura. He when he became independent governor of Minnesota, he had a meeting with the CIA, and they wouldn't tell him why or what they wanted, or even gave him, what he thinks they gave him fake names, but they're asking him all these questions, and they're just trying to figure out, like, how did he win, and and that's what it's about. It's about controlling the masses. They want to control who gets in power. They want to control, or at least they want to make sure whoever gets in power can be controlled. And most of the time, the people with the most influence and power aren't household names that we know. I mean, you look at Dr. Fauci, you can go back to the Dr. Peter Duesberg episode of the Rogan podcast, which is like, I don't know, 242 or something. I don't know, really early podcast. He was the doctor that, that was friends with Carrie Mullis, who created the PCR test, hated Dr. Fauci, and threatened what was the accepted perspective on HIV and AIDS. And he threatened it by saying, like, HIV doesn't cause AIDS, and the AZT drugs are killing people. And in that podcast, which was really old, and it was before Dr. Fauci was a household name, he talks about the power of Fauci and how anybody who crosses him gets, like, all the funding disappears and it's a career ender. So this guy was super powerful, and the average person didn't know his name until 2020, many years later. And so it's just like, there's all these people behind the scenes. I mean, look at the Mercer family who funded Trump. Like, a lot of people didn't know who they were until you were hearing about all the money they're giving Trump. And so it's like, there's all these people behind the scenes that have, all the think tanks, all the lobbyists, it just, there's so much going on. And that when you watch TV, if you believe what they're saying, or you think somebody is saying the things you want to hear, it's because they know those are the things you want to hear. They have speech writers. Okay, nothing that you see on TV is organic. The speech writers have well thought out plans and summaries on how to get a message across to you in a way that you like it. It's not a organic speech written by the president or somebody running for president who is like, these are my thoughts, let me just share them. No, it's like, how do we get votes? Oh, okay, we have to talk about this topic, or we have to not talk about that topic, or we have to say this a certain way. Everything is a illusion. And until people wake up to that, then you're just watching pro wrestling and getting caught up in the storyline and believing that Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant really don't like each other, when they're best friends and they're making money together and they just want to put on a show that gets you emotionally invested. And that's all politics is. It's a show that gets you emotionally invested.
Yeah, I really do think that politics, the way it is now, it's not even any sided. They're both two sides of the same coin. They just got a little bit of a. They say things on different sides, but they don't really do anything on either side. Half the time when they make a promise, they don't actually go through with it. If we're looking at the way that we're all headed, I guess, though, I guess we're starting to see that this whole American politic mess is kind of about to break down. And everybody's realizing it. Other countries around the world are doing much better than us, and it's not to put us down like we're horrible, but like, hey, there's more to this world than the imaginary box that they put us in. And it's getting around the ending, man. Should let's go ahead and just let people know what you want to know for 2024 and where they can find you. Anything upcoming, bro? What you got?
Yeah, I'm always bad at remembering what I got upcoming. I think so Dr. Jessica Rose is back on I think tomorrow or this weekend, and then I have I think next week or the following week, I have Dave Zed from Generation Z, who is another regular on the Ripple Effect podcast. He was on the Tim Pool show recently on his other show called The Culture War, which he did an episode on MH370 and what possibly that could have been, and all these other really crazy theories on what could have happened and whatnot and why it happened. And so I just also recently had Monica Perez on, and Monica Perez and I were talking about how fuck that racist Hulk Hogan. He is Hulk Hogan's similar to Michael Jordan, where it's like you appreciate their work, but you don't appreciate them as people. Like nobody likes them as people. But yeah, so Monica Perez and Dave Zed, they both are really into the Malaysian airline story and have conflicting opinions and perspectives on it. So I'm thought about bringing them on. And I believe that's scheduled for next week. Where I'm going to bring them on, and we're going to have a whole discussion on that.
Generation Z?
Yeah, that's Dave Zed. Yeah, Generation Z. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. I remember hearing that he was like building some crazy energy devices and he got visited by the Men in Black.
Oh yeah, and if you haven't checked his episode on or his appearance on The Culture War with Tim Pool, I highly recommend it. It was a great conversation, and Monica will be on also to talk about all those things. Monica goes deep into those topics too, so it's really fun. And then tomorrow or whenever the heck Dr. Jessica Rose is going to be on, I'm sure we're going to kind of get updates on what's going on with COVID and adverse reactions and all that type of stuff. She's always really updated on that. Has a great Substack too. And then if people didn't check out Monday's Union of the Unwanted, we got, it was funny because I didn't want to Roseanne Barr. We didn't want to announce it too far in advance just in case I jinxed ourselves. But yeah, we got Roseanne Barr. I also got James Corbett on the show.
How was that? I didn't even get to listen to the Roseanne Barr episode yet. I kind of found out too late. And just like brushed by.
The audio is available everywhere now. So like so for people listening, I host another show called The Union of the Unwanted with Sam Tripoli from the Tinfoil Hat podcast, Charlie Robinson from Macroaggressions, and also Midnight Mike from the OBDM show. We were supposed to be like a small show, and then the word started getting out, and at the last minute, and people started jumping on. So we end up having some people jump on, but which is fine. It is what it is. But that's one of the reasons why I try not to. If we have a big guest, I try not to jinx ourselves by announcing it too early, or also spreading the word too quickly, and then having a billion people on the show, and then when we have like a guest of honor, like I like to really focus on them if we can, and then when we have the regulars on, it's nice to kind of just let everybody talk and share their ideas and research and whatever they're working on. But Roseanne Barr was awesome. She had it's like 40 minutes in before she gets her technical difficulties figured out. She was trying to use Zoom, and then the Zoom had some issues, and then she called in using a landline, so that worked out. But once she gets going, it was fucking hilarious. Like I love Roseanne. I grew up watching her show. She just has a hilarious, outrageous sense of humor, and she just says what she wants, and there's just some hilarious moments where I just could not stop laughing. And there's this guy on the show that's friends with Sam, who apparently said something about one of her stand-up specials at some point, and she realizes that he's on, or I think she didn't even realize he was on the call with us because she was on landline and couldn't see us. But she's like, somebody brings him up. His name's Mike Binder, and she's like, "Fuck Mike Binder, that libtard," just goes on like this giant rant, and then I don't know if I don't think she knew he was on the call, and then all of a sudden Mike's like, "Roseanne, that's not what happened." She's like, "It's Mike. I'm so sorry." Like that, and then she's like, "He's like, all I said was that I felt like that special, like it wasn't up to your standards. You could have, maybe you slacked on some of your writing or whatever because you usually kill it." And then so she goes on this long rant, and then after he explains himself, she goes, "Well, you're kind of right." and then we all start laughing. Oh, dude, it was so funny.
She seems cool. But she also seems wild with some of the stuff that I've heard in her book, where like she sold her soul to Satan at like 12. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, we get
But
into like, that's one of the questions I ask her is like, okay, when did you realize the way the world really works? Right? Like, because she understands there is good and evil. She understands there are elites. Like she understands things at a level like you and I would understand, and she doesn't
mhm.
see things from like a surface level. And regardless if we disagree with her on certain things, like she definitely is somebody who at least is conspiratorial thinking and understands there's more than meets the eye. And she goes into her story like on what happened when she was 3 and how she, so it's like definitely listen to it. The videos are live streamed on Rokfin every other Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then usually the shows go from an hour to 2 hours, counting on how many people we have or whatnot. But and then you can get the audio. I know because I get people who every time we do a Union of Unwanted, people are always like, "Why is it only on Rokfin? Why is it only on?" And I'm just like, dude, within 24 to 48 hours, the audio is available everywhere. So, I think Mike was really fast with getting the audio up because we were all excited about the episode. So the audio of the episode was already available like Tuesday, and we recorded it Monday night. So the audio is available everywhere. It's Spotify, iTunes, any podcast app you might use. The video is available on Rokfin, and then typically he uploads it within a couple days or the most a week onto our Odyssey channel. We have an Odyssey channel too. We got to get on Rumble. I was telling the guys, Sam, Mike, and Charlie, I'm like, Rumble seems to be the next big video platform, and obviously YouTube is still the dominant one, but because we've been like censored so much on YouTube, most of us are kicked off YouTube. Rumble is a great alternative, and I think even though Rokfin and Odyssey are great platforms, I think there's gonna be a portion of the population that we're gonna be missing out on if we don't get on Rumble, and that's why the Ripple Effect podcast, for people listening who want to check out my one-on-one type show, is available on all the video platforms. I got kicked off YouTube. I still have a clips channel that I neglect because I hate listening to myself, and it's time consuming to find a clip to upload and whatnot. But I am on Minds, Rumble, Odyssey, Rokfin, Band.video. I'm sure I'm missing some, BitChute, Substack. So there's plenty of ways to listen to the Ripple Effect podcast, and I'm on all the audio platforms. But the Unions Unwanted, a great show. We've had some historic episodes where, like, I actually asked James to come on a little bit for like a backup plan, because we always like to have somebody fun and interesting and a new guest, especially if it was our first episode of 2024. But we, just in case Roseanne's internet didn't work or something happened, I'm like, well, at least we'll have James on and as a great guest. And then if they both show up, it'd be great to see like just the two on the same call, which is fun. And because James for a long time was like one of the, a black belt in research and really one of the most respected people in the community. So it was awesome to get him on a call with Roseanne. And we, in the past, we've done similar things where we've had Greg Palast on with like Mel K, and Mel K will like lose her mind on him. And we've had Roger Stone on with Steve from AM Wake Up and like just weird combinations of people. But the one thing that the four of us co-hosts all have in common is we get along with everybody, and we are open to talking with anybody, and we're polite and nice with everybody. And I think that's why a lot of people are willing to come on my shows, and and when they know that those guys are co-hosting, they don't have any conflict with them, because they're similar to myself. Like I said, we kind of get along with everybody, and you can disagree with people and still get something from the conversation. You can gain something from their perspective, and it's always worth at least listening to people that you might disagree with. So so rippleeffectpodcast.com, or use whatever your favorite audio app is or video app for podcasts. And thanks again, Joseph, for having me on. Gracias. It was a great conversation.
Hey, yeah, man. Go ahead and follow Ricky, guys. Hey, Ricky, go ahead and share this on your platform as well, man. We'll go ahead and have you on again. Hey, you have a good day, and God bless, man. What we're gonna do is just gonna go ahead and run a quick outro. So hope you guys have a wonderful time. Remember, guys, like, subscribe, share. tell everybody around that this is going down, and we could not do this without you. We love you. Well, I do. Well, Ricky, hope you do too, man. Yeah, you know what I mean? Peace.
Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about the present and the future. I'm improving cause I am a trooper, never getting caught up in the loop. Got up out it cause I found the truth. Woke up to a beauty of the day, the sun is shining, so I'm finna stay. Sitting, soaking up all of the rays, till I feel it surging through my brain like some booger sugar. Did a lot of cane, experimented with it, couldn't name all the times I did it, feeling like a fade. Yeah, I'm really glad that I let it go, cause I gotta be prepped for the time when the plane ride is a new norm. So I know I'm gonna stay high, blaze on the ganja, feeling like I make my music go to another level while I take off. I can't ever stop this, fell in love with it, fit like a glove, so I'm never ever done with it. So now I'm about to rip another beat, ayy. One day I'll make $1 million in a week, yeah, shooting for the top spot. Feel like I'm a hot shot, like I really got a chance with it. I will not flop, somebody gonna make it dance when I pop off. Gonna have all the bitches taking all the tops off. I've been feeling like I'm really gonna kill it for the rest of my life, so I've been staying focused. In my soul, I've been feeling like $1 million, so I know that everything is really getting closer. Yeah, no posers, only been hanging with the ones I've chosen. Only all the people that are living in the right way, cause they spending every day growing.